What's going on, guys? Derrick here with Fantasy Football Advice, coming at you with another fantasy football video. Today, I am drafting from the 11th spot. I should say welcome to the 12 days of mock drafts. You have another installment here from the 11th spot. I don't particularly like this spot too much, or maybe I shouldn't say that. I'm not too fond of this spot if I were able to pick my own, because by the time you get to this stage of the first round, most of the good running backs are gone. And if you take too many wide receivers like I did with my first and second pick, you can really leave yourself in a difficult position come the third round. So I'll let you know what I thought on my draft, who came in at a value, what I could have done better, and we'll run through it together. But before I do, if you could like this video and let us know what your favorite spot to draft from is, that would be awesome. And who knows, maybe that is the spot we will draft from in tomorrow's video. So give this video a like if you want to join the 12 days of mock drafts and become a potential subscriber in the subscriber league. All you have to do is sign up, become a member of our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. Check in on the private community Facebook group where we post the links to these drafts. But without further ado, let's get into the 12 days of mock drafts from the 11th spot. Nothing too out of the ordinary in this first round. We had Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, David Johnson. I think that's going to be pretty standard unless Ezekiel Elliott does sign with the team, in which case, Zeke could go first overall realistically. It all depends on your league and your scoring settings. This is half-point PPR, so Zeke may not be the best for going first overall, even if he does sign. He could very well finish first in that scoring with that scoring setting, but he just won't have the same ceiling when it comes to receptions as any of the other three. Christian McCaffrey and Saquon likely leading that department. But DeAndre Hopkins, he went at the 1.6. Now, James Conner, Le'Veon Bell, those guys are rising. We definitely did increase Le'Veon Bell's projections, which did boost him in the rankings. But James Conner, I'm not sure that I can really feel confident taking him there. I still think it's a little bit early. I would personally opt for another receiver. Julio Jones would not be the second one I would take, though. Devontae Adams, it's going to be ahead of Julio 10 out of 10 times for me. But I can't say Julio's the worst pick. When you're talking about taking wide receivers in the first round, it's a move that's safe. Le'Veon Bell went in at the 1.9. Devontae Adams 110. Excellent value. I was praying that Devontae Adams actually fell to me, but in fact, I did get Michael Thomas. I love Michael Thomas. My brother actually went to school with Michael Thomas, Taft High School in Los Angeles. So, but that's a little sidebar. Let's get back to the draft. Nick Chubb was someone who I was hoping would fall to me. I told myself, if Nick Chubb falls to the second round and I can get him, I would love to pair him with Michael Thomas. If not, I'm just going to get the best wide receiver available between Tyreek Hill and Odell Beckham Jr. Thankfully, it was Odell Beckham Jr. So what I got with Michael Thomas is the safety, the floor, the targets, right? He's going to potentially, push top 5 in targets at the position, and his hands are excellent. In a stat of the day, just not too long ago, I had mentioned that he had caught 30 of 36 red zone targets. Isn't that insane? An 83% catch rate in the red zone. That's something he's going to bring to your team this year, which is a bunch of safety. And at this stage of the draft, safety is something it's not guaranteed. Dalvin Cook, he's not necessarily safe. Nick Chubb, even though he is safe, so to speak, with Kareem Hunt coming in at the later stages of the draft, it does bring in some question marks that Michael Thomas would not bring into your team. So this is what I told you, though, about going back-to-back wide receivers. It does leave your team very susceptible to being weak at the running back position as you head into the third round. We'll get to there soon, but before we do, let's go over who got taken at the running back position after my draft pick of Odell Beckham. If I were to take a running back at that point, it probably would have been Joe Mixon, but I still don't feel like it would have been a great pick. Joe Mixon's solid, don't get me wrong, and we've seen him perform without Andy Dalton. We've seen him perform when this offense was terrible. So he's going to be good and he's going to be safe. But I just don't think that he has the positional upside as somebody like Odell Beckham, who could finish as the number one wide receiver if all things go his way. I don't think Joe Mixon even has that potential. And if I did want to get a bona fide stud at the running back position, I could trade a bona fide stud at the wide receiver position. So, anyways, let's get back to it. Dalvin Cook, I would not have really considered him at that spot. Kerryon Johnson, I love. Don't get me wrong. Still too early for me to take him. Todd Gurley, I'm not a fan of his draft price increasing to where it has today, but I kind of am because it means that I'm getting value at the later parts of the draft. So anytime Todd Gurley is increasing on where he's being taken, that means somebody else that I would take is falling. So I do like to look at it that way. Joe Mixon, wonderful value. I don't think that could have been a better pick. Damian Williams, I'm a little bit hesitant on him at that spot. I would have rather had Aaron Jones if he needed to take a running back. But Aaron Jones still has a lot of potential. It's just Carlos Hyde very well could lead this team at some point in the season. Darwin Thompson also. Darwin Thompson looks freaky, and it's just really difficult to say. Now, I will say Andy Reid does have a history of giving all the carries to one back, so that is something to look forward to. But to assume right now that it's Damian Williams is really difficult because he's lost a lot of valuable reps, and he's already proven that he can get banged up, and it's just not something that you really want to take on for risk if you can avoid it. Aaron Jones is going to be in a better position to lead the team, at least at this point in the offseason. Mike Evans, I don't think I've ever seen Mike Evans go in any different place besides the 2.7 to 2.10. I don't think he's ever fallen to the 2.11. I don't think he's ever gone to the 2.6. So that's exactly where Mike Evans lives, and that's where he's going to stay. So nothing out of the ordinary there. Travis Kelce, 2.12. He's starting to become an excellent value. If you can get Travis Kelce at the 2.12, my gosh, you're doing good. Because, look, George Kittle went at the 3.3. No, that's not good value. Compare those two. Do you want Travis Kelce would you rather take Travis Kelce 4 picks earlier or take George Kittle 4 picks later? You're going to take Travis Kelce. George Kittle, by all means, they're in the same tier, but Travis Kelce is one of the safest picks you can make at the tight end position with maximum upside. George Kittle, there's a lot of competition for targets now. His target market share likely decreasing. When he performed at his best, everyone was injured. And right now, he's got a new quarterback that he hardly played with, so there's just a lot of factors that could be considered risk. Travis Kelce, what's the only factor that he didn't have last season that could negatively impact him? I mean, all we could say is Tyreek Hill is back and not suspended. But Tyreek Hill was there all last season, so it's really difficult to point a finger at him and say he's not worth that spot. But moving on, the third round, this is where I said the running backs start to get thin. We have Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Leonard Fournette, Devonta Freeman. Standard. I always see those guys going at exactly that spot. David Montgomery typically is being drafted ahead of Josh Jacobs. I personally would also make that decision. Leonard Fournette, Devonta Freeman, those two are seen very similarly to me because they're the risky guys, the guys who have done it before, the high upside guys, but the guys that you're not going to hold your breath if they ever stay healthy. Stephon Diggs, I've seen him draft most cases after these next 4 receivers, which is Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, and T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton definitely has to fall because of the news of Andrew Luck. I will say, I was seeing him on the sideline moving around, and he looks healthy to me, but I just can't get behind it until we know for certain that he is healthy, because I had the opportunity to draft him. I had T.Y. Hilton ahead of Amari Cooper on my draft board not too long ago. And, things changed because I'm just not going to take the risk. We saw what T.Y. Hilton did without Luck, and it wasn't pretty. It's still a top 30 wide receiver. We're talking like wide receiver 30, literally. So it's just something that you don't want to invest a high pick on if you're going to have better options. Like Amari Cooper and T.Y. Hilton, even when both were healthy and available, it wasn't a giant giant gap between them. Okay, they were still in the same tier. I mean, maybe T.Y. Hilton, you could put him in a tier above, but you're not really putting him in with the Juju Smith-Schusters and the Odell Beckhams and the Tyreek Hills. I mean, he's more in the Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs range anyway. So to potentially lose his quarterback would be detrimental to his fantasy value. So I opted for Amari Cooper. At this point, I was starting to wonder which running back am I going to take, because all of them are gone. I told myself I would take Chris Carson if he fell to me. He didn't, though. He got taken one pick before me. So FF Rob, you did snipe him, so to speak. I don't think you can really snipe someone in the early rounds, because you're kind of like, everyone knows where everyone's going to go within like a handful of spots. So I don't really think it was sniped for me, but it was a good pick. I do believe so. So congratulations on that, FF Rob. I took Amari Cooper, and I was debating very long and very hard if I should go full RB0 because I wanted Brandon Cooks. I decided against it last minute because I saw Derrick Henry there, and he is the final running back that I have in those tiers, and I just decided to pull the trigger on him. So Derrick Henry, he doesn't have maximum upside because, I mean, he's not going to be catching a ton of passes. And I'm not making an excuse saying this is an excellent pick. You know, it's more of a standard pick. It's also a pick that, I mean, come on, it's Derrick Henry. He's disappointed so often. But if you are doing RB0 and Derrick Henry with his top 5 potential upside, I mean, that could, in a world, work out very, very well. So you could do worse. I was also considering Zach Ertz right there in the 4th round. If you can get Zach Ertz in the 4th round, while I may not make that decision, I haven't in any mock drafts, I definitely think you could do worse. We have Robert Woods, Patrick Mahomes, Cooper Kupp. I was very shocked, okay? Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods both going before Brandon Cooks? Like, what world is this in? So I wouldn't expect that in your draft. Brandon Cooks is clearly the best option of the 3. OJ Howard at the 4-8, he's rising. Julian Edelman, he's falling because obvious reasons, a.k.a. Josh Gordon. Tyler Lockett, Kenny Golladay. Oh, did I miss it? Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention Chris Godwin. I think I glossed over it at the 4-1. That's insane, okay? I love Godwin as much as the next person, but I think that's too much. That's too much risk. I mean, we love Godwin more than anybody else, but to take him one spot behind Ty, that's a spicy take. But Kenny Golladay, he fell further than I thought. Tyler Lockett, he's going in that same range. Sony Michel, Tevin Coleman. So nothing out of the ordinary here. So far, my team, 3 solid wide receivers. Michael Thomas, Odell Beckham, Amari Cooper. I mean, those guys could each finish as wide receiver 1s, and I don't think anybody would be surprised. Now, Derrick Henry as my only running back is scary. So I knew I had to start looking at running back at this point, and by the time it came back to me, I'm sorry, let me mention one thing real quick. Melvin Gordon was taken as the 6th pick in the 5th round. That's not a bad value. If I was going RB0 and Melvin Gordon fell back to me at the 5th round, I know it's difficult to go RB0 and still have someone like Melvin Gordon who can't start for your team until maybe at best halfway through the season, but imagine he comes back. I went RB0, right? I got my Amari Cooper, my Odell Beckham, and my Michael Thomas. I have one of those receivers flex, have Amari Cooper in the flex, then have Melvin Gordon. Imagine he's back. Melvin Gordon starting with Derrick Henry. I mean, 2 potential top 5 running backs with 2 top 5 wide receivers and Amari Cooper. Even if he is inconsistent, that's kind of boom bust in my flex. I mean, that's a league-winning type selection right there. But he didn't make it to me. I was shocked to even feel that low. But Hunter Henry was the choice that I went with. And I know I should have probably taken a running back there, but think about it. I saw 2 running backs that I wanted. I said, I could get Phillip Lindsay or Austin Eckler. I preferred Austin Eckler. And said one of them would fall to me. I can't guarantee that Hunter Henry would fall to me in the next round. I knew that I would get one of the two. And you know what? I got the one I didn't want as much, which was Phillip Lindsay, but I don't think Phillip Lindsay is the worst pick in this situation because Theo Riddick is now he's injured. He is going to be out for several weeks, and Phillip Lindsay, while he wasn't a value previously, he's still not a value now, I would say, because he's still going somewhere where it's more fair. I knew I wasn't going to get the best options anyway, but Phillip Lindsay was the best of what I had to pick from. I was also considering Latavius Murray and Lamar Miller. Darrell Henderson I wasn't really considering, but I will say even for the other two, I think it was a little too early for them, and I didn't want to feel forced to take somebody who out of position just because I went wide receiver early. That defeats the whole purpose of RB0. If I should have done anything, I should have went to another position like I did the following pick. So right here, after this next tier of running backs, we're talking to Latavius Murray, Lamar Miller, Darrell Henderson. We get into the next stage, which is the Rashad Penny, Darius Geis. Kalen Ballage. Now, the 9th pick in the 7th round after news that Kenyon Drake is no longer going to be the starter because of an injury, and Kalen Ballage would start. That's good news for Ballage. So he has to move up your board. I'm not sure if he's there yet for me, but I cannot hate that pick at all. Next, I went Baker Mayfield, and I know that may surprise a lot of people because it's a quarterback early, but we're talking the 11th pick in the 7th round. Okay, this went late. Quarterbacks should go when you get them at a value, and I don't think any better value could have been presented to myself than Baker Mayfield at the 11th pick in the 7th round. We're talking Carson Wentz went 2 picks after me, okay? We're talking Drew Brees went not even half a round, 5 picks later. So I think that's an excellent value. I did take him a little earlier than I'd like to take a quarterback, but having him paired with Odell Beckham Jr. is just going to set this team apart on a weekly basis if that connects. Now, Jared Cook went after, like I mentioned, Carson Wentz. I went with Dante Pettis on the 8-2. And this is where I think it would come down to personal preference because there are a few people I would consider right here. I thought others would fall. I knew by taking Dante Pettis, I was not going to be getting Marvin Jones. And I really wanted to take Sterling Shepard. But what I figured was Sterling Shepard has a bit of a safe floor, okay? So I don't really need a safe floor player when my receivers are Amari Cooper, Odell Beckham, and Michael Thomas. Because if you're having a safe floor player, the only way you would start them over one of those players is if A, they were injured, B, they were on a bye week. What I needed was an upside player. Could Marvin Jones be that upside player? Yes, he's been a wide receiver one in the past, and you know, he could do it. If variance hits his way, he could be that guy. It's just there's a lot of factors contributing to why it's going to be one of his down years as opposed to one of his up years. So I opted not to take him. I went for Pettis, sheer upside play. Could it work out? Definitely. Is it more than likely not going to be a player who is going to be started over any of those guys? Yeah, of course. But that was my thoughts behind that. I could have taken a running back, but my choices were between Kenyon Drake, Devin Singletary, Royce Freeman. Matt Breida definitely would have been a solid pick here. I wouldn't have hated that whatsoever, but I knew that there were several guys in the late rounds that I would be able to take, and I definitely think Dante Pettis is a solid pick at the second pick of the 8th round. So I did take him. Moving on to my next round, I got Damian Harris, which I loved that pick. That was probably one of my favorite picks in the draft. Every pick that was going in between mine and the next person, I kept looking at Damian Harris and hoping he would fall, and he finally did. And then I had one other player in mind, which was Tony Pollard, and I was hoping he would fall too. So I really did get two running backs that I really felt like I wanted to secure my tail end of the draft I got, because Damian Harris is going to be next in line for touches behind Sony Michel if anything happens to Michel. As we know, Michel, a little injury prone, so Damian Harris has a good opportunity to start, and it's not going to be It's not going to take too much for him to see the field. Tony Pollard, that's basically a bet against Zeke, and as it stands today, they still want to use him in the Kamara role. So if you're telling me you have a guy who's getting touches like Alvin Kamara on an offense which should be improved, with the potential that Ezekiel Elliott might not return and he would be the immediate starter, yes, for RB0, that is perfect. I'm not saying this is an RB0 draft, but yes, for going 3 wide receivers straight in the beginning of the draft, yes, that's great. My next 2 picks, Ronald Jones, Chris Thompson. Chris Thompson was really just the guy who is pretty much a stopgap. If I am not strong at the running back position, I needed a guy who could be put in right away and know that maybe if he's healthy, he's going to get 4 or 5 receptions in a game, maybe score a touchdown, but just somebody who's going to get points I could throw in the flex if need be, throw in the RB2 and just hope. And he is that guy. Ronald Jones, I'm going to have to sit on that one. There is a chance he does become the starter, but it is more of an upside play, a stash and dash. So I do like that pick, but it isn't something that's going to help me immediately. But then again, not all picks are going to help you immediately. As for my wide receiver, let me see if there's any values I'm seeing here. I like Darwin Thompson, Duke Johnson. I think those are great picks where they're going in drafts. Ito Smith, Justice Hill, those as well. So I think there is really solid selections you can make at the running back position late in drafts. So don't always feel like you have to get those middling guys in the early rounds, because you don't. We're almost done here, and basically my last picks were for Trey Quinn, who, if you're going to be drafting and you're not sure who to take in the late rounds, look for Trey Quinn. He is in every ADP ranked way too low. Like Trey Quinn, if I were to if the draft would have went on to like the top 250, he would probably take several rounds after here for him to even be suggested as the next player available, because nobody's talking about him. He's not on the draft board typically, so you have to search for him, and that's good. That means you can basically get him because everybody's going to forget about him. Chase Edmonds, I like that because he's a guy who could see field time right away as well. The Arizona Cardinals are trying to have the most amount of plays in the entire NFL. You can't have David Johnson out on every play at the running back position. Chase Edmonds is going to get an opportunity. So he, while healthy, and while David Johnson's healthy, is going to see the field. Now, if anything happens to David Johnson, what do you think is going to happen? Chase Edmonds is going to get a serious uptick. So there's upside, there's safety and volume while both players are healthy. So, I mean, it's a slam dunk pick, especially when weak at the running back position like myself. But that's going to do it, guys. I mean, I guess I could say I got Philadelphia Eagles and Robbie Gould. Not really that important, but let me know who you think out of all of these players had the best draft. I would really appreciate that. Leave it in the comments section down below. Let me know where you're drafting from, and let me know which you think is the best spot to draft in this season. If you guys have any other questions or suggestions, leave it in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. We thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.